In this third part of the mysterious tadpole, we're actually going to read about the life cycle of a frog and how frogs actually change or metamorphosize. Tadpoles to frogs, from eggs to frogs. A life cycle is the different parts of a living thing's life. A life cycle goes from the time an animal is born to the time it is an adult. In this story, you're going to read to learn about the life cycle of a frog. Again, informative. From eggs to frogs. While you read, underline, or look at the sentence that tells what a tadpole looks like. From egg to tadpole. Many frogs start life as an egg that hatches in an ordinary pond. The young are called tadpoles. You may look at them suspiciously and feel confused. Why? Tadpoles look like tiny fish. And there's a sentence. They look like tiny fish, not frogs. On this one, you look for a sentence that tells where a tadpole lives and how it breathes. From tadpole to frog. A tadpole has a tail but no legs. It uses its tail to stay in control as it swims. A tadpole lives underwater and breathes through gills. As a tadpole grows, it begins to look like a frog. How does it first breathe? While it's first a tadpole with gills. You have to know that. It breathes with gills, like fish do. As a tadpole grows, it begins to look like a frog. A frog has legs and lungs, but not tail. Now it has lungs. If it has lungs, where can it go now? With gills, it can only live underwater. Now it has lungs like we do. Where can that frog go? On land, of course. A frog has legs and lungs, but no tail. A frog lives out of water part of the time. So a tadpole lives underwater and breathes through gills. A frog has lungs, no tail. Now it can live outside. Find out 2 ways that a frog is different from a tadpole. First, frogs now have legs. Tadpoles don't. They only have a long tail. They swim. Frogs now can live on land because of their lungs. Tadpoles have gills, so they can't go on land. They have to live underwater. Those are 2 ways. Read. Circle the part of the diagram that shows how a frog's life starts. Does a frog's life start here on number 4? It maybe starts down here, right? Yeah, we're not looking at the diagram at all, are we? Are we being good readers? If we're looking down here when it asks us to look at a diagram. Where does a frog's life start? Well, of course, a frog lays lots of eggs. Then tadpoles hatch from the eggs. After that, the tadpole grows legs, lungs develop, the tail shrinks. Remember, when a tadpole grows legs, because it can go on land now, it now has lungs. Over here, it had gills. The tadpole has become a frog, finally. No more tail. It busts out with its tail. His head grows, his eyes grow, and now it's looking pretty creepy. What part of the frog's life cycle comes after a tadpole hatches? After a tadpole hatches. What happens after a tadpole hatches? Tadpole. A frog lays its eggs. A tadpole hatches from the eggs. So what happens after a tadpole hatches? The tadpole grows legs. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Some animals care for their young and teach them how to find food. A tadpole gets no training from its parents. It is able to find its own food. What's the heading of this passage? Does this part have a heading? No, it doesn't have a heading. How about that one? It's in bold. That is the heading of this passage. Frogs as pets. It is a good idea to keep your frog, or is it over here? No, there's only one heading there. It's frogs as pets. It is a good idea to keep your frog in a fish tank, not a cage. Put water in the tank and rocks for the frog to climb on. Sensible owners handle their frogs gently so the frogs do not become upset. They give their frogs water, plants, and the good food they need. How does the diagram of a life cycle of a frog help you understand the text? This is all about the life cycle of a from eggs to frogs. How does it help you understand more about from eggs to frogs? This diagram starts with eggs, ends with frogs, and the life cycle continues. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's for our next story. Oopsie.